All right, welcome back to the Powers on Sports podcast. Got a real pleasure. We're going to, with the baseball playoffs starting on Friday with the wild card rounds in both the American and National League. And we also had the big news earlier in the week with Aaron Judge breaking the American League home run record. Everybody has their own view of what the real home run record is. So we can talk about that. And we got a great guy to break it down. Chris Perez, former Major League Baseball closer, pitcher, former Miami Hurricane. He's a two-time All-Star with the Cleveland Indians, played for the Cardinals, the Indians, and the LA Dodgers. And Chris Perez is joining us on the podcast. Appreciate you getting with us, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First time, but I'm excited and ready to talk some baseball.
Yeah, you're the perfect guy to talk as we get into the wild card round in the playoffs here, getting going. First off, talk to me about Aaron Judge a little bit. If you were in the spot of the Texas, obviously Judge broke the record with 2 games left in the season. If you were in the game, would you challenge him? Would you be a nibbler? You know, there's lots of talk around the league. Are guys challenging him, giving him something to hit? What would your mentality have been if you were facing Judge?
Well, when I played, I was the closer. So if I was facing him, I mean, you know, my job is to get the game over. So, you know, the way I used to go about it, you know, you kind of navigate through lineups, especially in the 9th, where you just have to, you have to get those 3 outs and the game's over. You know, if I face them, nobody on, nobody out, I'm going to try to strike them out. You know, like that's part of baseball, and especially pitching, is that one-on-one, battle within the game.
Right.
And, that's pretty much, that's one of the bigger spots, outside of the playoffs or something like that during the regular season. You know, there's not many intense games like that. I know I remember facing A-Rod when he was trying to hit 600.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the record home run, but it's still, a big milestone.
Oh, sure.
And you have pride and, you have some of that ego yourself. So I would definitely try to strike him out. Now if it's like first, second and third, 2 outs and we're up by 1,
right.
I'm still trying to win the game for my team. So I'm glad he did it though. I mean, I can't imagine the kind of pressure he was under, especially in New York, the last, month or so.
Right.
Me personally, it's the AL record. That's cool, but it's not the home run record. I mean, Barry Bonds is still the king in my opinion. I know he's a steroid user and everything, but he wasn't the only one, and he still was able to do that. And I think if you look at his seasons, he was getting walked like 150 times, 170 times. Like
crazy.
There'd be some games where he'd get like 1 strike and he would hit a home run, and that's just a different level. I've been surprised actually myself that people haven't been pitching around Judge as much, because I know during August the Yankees were going through a bad streak. Like he was the only one hitting pretty much.
Right.
He had a couple of injuries. I think Stanton was out. Like there was nobody else protecting him really.
Right.
I don't know. I was telling my buddies, like, I don't know why people are still pitching to him right now. Like, make up somebody else beat you. But yeah, I mean, he's had a great season, and I don't know. I haven't checked the last couple of days, but I still think he's pretty close to the Triple Crown. So I mean,
it looks like he's not going to win the batting title. It looks like he's 4 or 5 points behind in the batting race.
Okay.
So probably not going to win the Triple Crown unless because the guy in front of him is not playing anymore. He's hurt, so
okay.
I don't think he's going to win the batting title.
Yeah, there's only 1 game left, so you'd probably have to go 7 for 7 or something.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he talk about betting on yourself and coming out on top. He turned out that extension earlier this year, and I mean, there's no doubt he's going to be making more money than what he turned down. So, like I said, just crazy how he can put up with all that pressure, especially in New York. I mean, that's just a different animal, with the media and having it be Yankees too, Ruth and Maris.
Right.
And it's kind of crazy how it just all came together.
All right, I want to talk about Albert Pujols, another guy who's probably going to be retiring at the end of this year. I know you've got some St. Louis Cardinal ties. You've probably at some point met him, faced him, I'm sure, when you were in Cleveland. Talk about Pujols getting to 700 home runs and what a fear. I mean, I know you're never fearful of a guy, but when he was in his prime, what a dangerous hitter that guy was when you were closing games.
Oh man. So, I actually, my rookie year and my first full year was with the Cardinals, and it's like right during main Pujols, time, like when he was on top of his, and, he just, talk about scary hitters. Like, some guys have a bunch of power, which is, if you fall behind and have to come into them or, have to give them a cookie, they're going to hurt you. He's just a great hitter. Like, I mean, he'll take his singles. He'll hit the ball the other way. He'll take his doubles. And when he was younger, he was driving the ball that way too.
Right.
He's just an amazing hitter. And for what he's done this year, I mean, I think he's got like 18 or 19 home runs in the second half. Like
since August, since like mid-August.
That's crazy. Like 42-year-olds are not supposed to do that, And I was surprised that he went into the home run derby too. Like that usually takes a lot out of a guy.
Right.
A young guy, a 20-something-year-old, not a 40-year-old. And then for him to have the second half, it's just, I mean, he's just like cementing his career as the best hitter, one of the best hitters ever. Like he came into the league ripping it, and now he's leaving ripping it. And I don't think he's done. I mean, yeah. I know he kind of came out this year and said, no, this is it with the Cardinals, but then he puts up this kind of year,
right?
And he's got to be thinking like, I can do this. I can get to 800. Like,
right?
I mean, it's just been crazy, and I can't wait to see what he does in the playoffs because that he seems to rise when the stakes are the highest. I remember that World Series in 2011. He had I think he had like 4 or 5 home runs, and his last year with the Cardinals actually, and he's if you look at all his numbers and walks, runs scored, doubles, RBIs, home runs, like he might be one of the top 2 hitters ever, and that's saying something in today's game. With the relief corps coming in, with all the stuff they have, and back when Babe Ruth played, he was facing the same pitchers for the whole game. Yeah. Exactly, and there weren't that many teams, so he's facing the same pitchers every week almost. So it's just a tremendous person to watch, and I'm glad I played with him. I did get to face him one time when he was with the Angels. I struck him out, so I got that. I got that. But yeah, he definitely was one of the guys where where he is in the lineup, and like, all right, the guy before him, I got to try to get him out, and then you just try to make your best pitches.
Cool. All right. Well, Chris was a first-round draft pick of the Cardinals back in 2006. He played at the University of Miami. When you were at Miami, were you a closer at Miami, or were you a starter at Miami?
My first, when you go to college, everybody wants to be a starter, right? You don't want to be in the bullpen when you're in college because everyone's trying to get to the next level. And if you're in the bullpen in college, like that doesn't translate too well. So I started in the bullpen at my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was in the rotation. I made it. I had an injury, and then coming back, I was in the bullpen just to get some work, and I just started flourishing pretty much. My velocity was harder. My mentality was just made for the bullpen. So from my end of my sophomore year all the way through my junior year, I was just a closer. Yeah. And, I like to tell friends now that, I like to work smarter, not harder. And closers, closers get to pitch 1 or 2 innings, and starters are out there for 6, 7 innings in college. So, yeah, I don't know, just something clicked. I liked being able to pitch almost every day. I liked coming to the field knowing that I had a chance to play. And I like being on the field when, it's time to win. That's the closer's job. And I just seemed to embrace it and ran with it.
What were your thoughts the day of draft day? I mean, obviously that's a huge day for baseball guys, especially if you're a first round pick. So, I mean, did you pretty much know you were going to go in the first round, or was it surprising?
Yeah. So draft day, we were still practicing. We were still in the, I think we were getting ready for super regionals. We're in the postseason still. So the draft starts at 12 back then, and it wasn't on TV. It was you had to like log on to a website and like watch your name come across. But I had a pretty good idea. I was going to go pretty high. I mean, nothing's ever for sure. My agent, they do a pretty good job of narrowing down where you could be selected. I think the White Sox were like one of my first teams. I think they picked like 28 or 29 or something like that. Right. And then I think my like floor team was just somewhere in the 50s. So I kind of knew I had a good chance, and I had a great season going into it. But you never know till you get your name read, called out. Sure. And it was definitely a day I'll never forget. I was lucky to have my family there. I got drafted early enough, so I was in my coach's office actually watching it on the computer. And so I got drafted, hugged my family, and then I had to go down to practice. So
it's not like it's not like the NFL where the GM of the team's calling you and saying, "Chris, we're taking you, buddy."
Not for me. I mean, nowadays, it's on the TV and some of the guys are there and everything, so it's a lot different. But no, back then, like I don't even think I talked to a team the last couple of weeks. Wow. That's what your agent does. I was focused in trying to get Miami to the College World Series.
Talk about the day you're in the minor leagues when the manager calls you in and says, "Big boy, you're getting on the plane. You're going to St. Louis."
I actually got a funny story about that. So I was in AAA with the Cardinals, and we were in Vegas. and Vegas. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
we were having, we were staying at the Golden Nugget. So, after the game or whatever, everybody's gambling and having a couple drinks or whatever. You're not going to bed on time, let's say, right? And, it was our last day, and we had like a early flight to go to Reno for the next series, and we just decided to stay up all night. To stay in the casino. We'll sleep on the plane, get in Reno, take a nap, be ready, right? Well, we're in the airport, like everybody. I'm trying to get a quick nap in before the plane takes off. We're sitting there at the gate. Our trainer comes over to me and says, "Hey, Chris, you need to go, talk to the manager." I was like, "All right." So I walked over and he's like, "Congratulations, you're getting called up." I'm like, now it's like early Sunday morning in an airport in Vegas. Like nothing's open, nothing. He's like, "Yeah, you need to go downstairs, change your ticket. You're going to Milwaukee, meeting up with St. Louis. Congratulations." I was like, awesome. So I go downstairs, change my ticket. I actually go to because I think I went to the Bellagio, got a haircut because my hair was so long. I got a haircut, called the parents, called the agent, everything, right? I get up for my haircut. The GM calls me and says, "Actually, you're not coming right now. The pitcher didn't get hurt. We don't need a guy. You need to go meet your team again in Reno." And I'm this was my first time, right? Like my first time to get called up. I'm calling everybody, and then that happens. But luckily, a week later, I got called up for sure. So
that sucks, man.
It's not the best, that's baseball. I mean, it's a business. They don't care. It's your first time. They don't care. Right. They don't care where you're at. You're at the mercy of the team. So that first time though, it's definitely special. So many emotions, like nerves, excitement.
Yeah.
It's just it's probably after draft day. That's your biggest moment, making your MLB debut.
Sure. All right, so you go from St. Louis to Cleveland. Who'd you get traded for?
Mark DeRosa.
All right, guy we know him, MLB Network guy, former Brave, played a lot of guys. So pretty the name. There you go. At least you got a decent name that you got traded for.
Exactly.
So when you get to Cleveland, you start to establish yourself as the ninth inning guy. They start to believe in you. 133 career saves. What is the mentality that it requires? You see a lot of guys pitch the ninth inning. Some guys are really good at it, and other guys are shaky. What is the mentality that you have to be the guy in the ninth inning in your mind?
It's gonna say terrible, but you have to be cocky. Like you have to have so much confidence because you're gonna give up leads, you're gonna blow games, but the team has enough faith in you that they want you out there again the next day. So you have to have that same kind of cockiness and bravado, I would say, to be like, yeah, I am the best out here. I'm gonna get you guys out. We're gonna win this game. Right. I don't care. I don't care what the situation is. Bases loaded, 1 out. Up by 1, whatever. Right. I'm gonna make my pitches to get you out. And I think that it's definitely a mentality. And when you're going good, it's easy. Like you're doing your job, you're getting saves, you're winning.
Your arm never hurts.
The arm never hurts. Yeah. When you're going good, it seems like you make a bad pitch, the guy pops it up instead of hitting a home run. But it all adds into your confidence. So when you start struggling, that's the hardest part for me was not even my personal like numbers or stats or anything. It's the team. Like my job is to get 1 inning. When I played, now closing is kind of different, but when I played, my job was to come in for 1 inning, get 3 outs, and that's it. You get a starter that's out there for 7 or 8 innings. They may have a couple jams during that stretch where they have to make some pitches, have some runners on base, get some outs. And for me to go in there and boom, 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 game's over, we lose. Like it's terrible. Like it's the worst. It's the worst feeling. And I never wanted to feel that. That's what fueled me was not wanting to let my team down. And luckily I had a lot of experience from college, minor leagues. And then, I was closing games pretty early in my career in the big leagues. So I had a lot of experience doing it. And I did it my own way. I wouldn't, I kind of always had traffic on bases, but some of that was planned, like I'm not going to just give in to their best hitter just because it's 2-0. Right. I'll still try to make my pitches. And if he walks, great. I got a worse hitter behind him, that was my mentality. And the way my dad always told me too, he's like, listen, if you're pitching, you can't do both. You can't give up hits or walks. You can do one or the other. You can give up some hits, but not walks. And luckily, I was just able to make enough pitches when I had to.
Who's the most of a guy guys that we would know if you're a baseball fan? Who's the guy that you said, damn, I can just never get this guy out?
Man, I mean, I had some good battles with Miguel Cabrera when he was with the Tigers.
Yeah.
And that was right in his prime too. So Miguel Cabrera definitely every at bat. I mean, you can't throw him the same pitch twice.
Right.
He's a smart hitter. He's a great hitter. He's kind of like Pujols. You know, he could use the whole field. He had power everywhere, and he had that confidence. And so being in the AL Central so much with the Indians, Miguel Cabrera was always, you know, the guy you circle. He can't beat me. And then with the Twins, Joe Mauer, he was a tough guy too, especially being a lefty. I mean, I think there was some crazy stat one year he broke like 2 bats, and like just his hand-eye coordination, like he would get the pitches that he's not supposed to touch.
Right.
And then he would wear you down, and then, you know, he would hit your mistake. So those 2 guys I faced the most, probably, you know, with games on the line and stuff. Paul Konerko was also a good challenge. Yeah. I always felt like I could get Konerko out if I made my pitches. Like with the other guys, you can still make your pitch and they can still hit it well. With Konerko, like he's looking for that heater that he can drive, and if it's in the zone, he's going to hit it. If it's above the zone, he'll miss it. So I've always felt like I could attack him, even though he was a great hitter and great power hitter. But those other guys, you can still make a great pitch and they still lace it in the gap for a double. You're just like, what? Like, that's not supposed to happen.
What's the coolest ballpark you pitched in?
Oh man. Well, so I came up in the NL and then I got traded to the AL really fast. So I actually played in all the ballparks. Except the new Rangers ballpark and the new Grays ballpark. Right. I like for atmosphere, nothing beats a day game at Wrigley. Like, you know, a Friday day, especially when I was with the Cardinals, because that's a big rivalry. So I got introduced to that pretty early in my career, and like a Friday 2 o'clock game at Wrigley, sold out, wind blowing. It's just like that's baseball. You know, that's how it was 100 years ago, and that's how it is there. So I would say Wrigley day game, 2 o'clock. I mean, those fans get after it, and it's a cool ballpark. You know, it's they've done a really good job updating it, but keeping it Wrigley.
Yep, cool. All right, listen to the Powers on Sports podcast. Jason here. We're talking to Chris Perez, 2-time MLB All Star with the Cleveland Indians, 2011, 2012. We're getting ready to break down all the Major League Baseball playoff division wild card series that are getting ready to start this weekend. So, talk to me about just what are your thoughts about the whole analytics craze that's taken over baseball the last 8 or 10 years?
I definitely think that there's an edge there. You know, shifts and everything. People have been shifting for a while. You know, you get the big lefty up, they would shift the, you know, not 4 guys on the infield, but they would shift second base all the way over to the hole, and you know, the outfield would always shift. So shifts have always kind of been part of the game, but now it's just, I mean, it's almost not fair for some of these hitters. You know, these pitchers are throwing so hard, and they know the scouting report so well, and they have the defense swayed over. So yeah, if you're, you know, throwing 97, 98 fastballs inside, the hitter, there's no way they can go the opposite way. Like it's just like physically impossible for them to hit the ball to left field. It's just, it's a mistake when they do it. So I feel for the hitters, but at the same time, I mean, I don't like all these rule changes they're going to do next year, and no shifts and 2 guys on the infield. And I mean, the rules of the game say that 8 guys have to be unfair territory, right? It doesn't say where. It doesn't say, you know, you can't have 5 outfielders if you don't want. Like, so I think we're really changing the core of the game. And as you know, I guess you could consider me a purist, but you know, I don't know. I kind of like analytics. They work. Like being here in Tampa, we watch the Rays, right?
Right.
They have no business competing, you know, night in, night out with the Yankees or the Dodgers, or you know, if you look at their lineup and person to person, they have no business, right? And then you play the season out, and there they are. They're in the playoffs, and it's those little, you know, they may not show up in tonight's game, but over the course of 162 games, those little adjustments, their lineup, it just works. And now, you know, more and more teams are doing it, and it's definitely here to stay. There has to be a mix, though. I was talking to a buddy of mine right now that works for the Blue Jays, and there has to be a mix because analytics doesn't tell you, hey, the guy threw 2 nights in a row, he's a little sore.
Correct.
Hey, that infielder slid and hurt his knee a little bit. His range is a little lower. Like there's no variable for the human element. It's just like we're not robots, right? Like,
yep.
Yeah.
Classic example is the Rays last year in the playoffs. You take Snell out of the game, he's pitching a gem, and analytics say take him out of the game, and then they lose the game against the Dodgers.
And that's what I'm saying. Like the feel has to be there. Like you can watch that game, see that he's dominating pretty much. Who cares about pitch count? You're in the World Series. Like who cares, right? Like, but so that's why you said that because like, do you play blackjack?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. So if you hit on 16, you should hit on 16 every time, right?
But the feel, but sometimes there's a flow of the table, man.
There is. You're right. That's true. So I mean, there is that fine line, though, and I think Kevin Cash's perspective was, well, all these moves that I've done got us to this point, right?
I get it.
Maybe he couldn't live with himself if he kept him in there and he blew it or something. I don't know, but definitely looking back 2020,
for a guy, here's what I'll say: a guy like you, a dominant closer, analytics doesn't want to put Chris Perez in the game every ninth inning. Sometimes they're going to put a lefty in. I mean, so that hurts a guy like you who's dominant, who's ready to be the ninth inning guy.
It would definitely, and every time I got in there, like bottom of the order, they would pinch hit lefties because my splits were so much different.
Right.
But that's true. I mean, analytics doesn't like me probably. Like I wouldn't be closer. I too many guys on base, too many walks.
Right.
I gave up a couple of too many home runs, but I don't know if you can say this, but analytics can't measure balls. They can't measure the fortitude to go in there and make pitches.
Right.
And have, bases loaded facing Miguel Cabrera and here we go.
Let's go.
Analytics doesn't put a number on that, and it never will. It never will.
All right, let's get to on the field. We got some great wild card series getting ready to start this weekend. In the American League, Houston's 1, the Yankees are 2, getting a bye. You're gonna have Cleveland, Tampa Bay facing off, and Toronto, Seattle. What do you see? What just your overall thoughts of the American League going into the playoffs?
Well, I mean, obviously there's been one dominant team, the Yankees, for most of the year. I'm not sold on them though. I don't think their pitching's deep enough.
Yeah,
they got a lot of question marks in the bullpen area. Their starters, they got some good, Garrett Cole and the guy that's the other
Severino.
Yep, and even Nestor Cortez has been great too.
Yeah, right.
I just don't. I don't think they have enough in the bullpen. And
who's going to close the game at the back end? That's
what I mean. I don't think they have enough. They've had a lot of injuries, and Chad Green going down for the year, halfway through the year. That's big. He's experienced.
Yeah.
Has that confidence when he's out there. My sleeper for the AL is the Mariners actually.
Yeah.
They kind of hit the skids here the last couple of weeks, but playoffs. I'm not a big believer in you play like you have been playing. I think you can turn it around. Momentum's only as good as your next starter, kind of a thing.
Yep.
The Mariners, I think they have enough of a young group plus some veterans mixed in.
Yep.
And they're pitching. Luis Castillo, he's a bona fide ace.
Yes.
So, Julio Rodriguez is a stud. They got a lot. They can score runs different ways. It's not just all home runs like the Yankees.
Yeah.
I think they're my sleeper for the AL. The Rays, I just think they're a little short on the offense. They have some good players. Wander coming back helps, but he's not hot right now.
They got a good matchup with Cleveland. That's a good matchup for them. That's a winnable series for sure.
It's definitely a winnable sery. They just faced each other last week,
right?
And every game was 1 or 2 runs, well pitched, kind of like a playoff atmosphere,
right?
I think that helps them because they just faced those pitchers last week. Getting Glass now back's big for the Rays.
Yes,
he's an ace. He's a stud. I don't know if you can really trust Kluber so much. I know he has the experience, but I think his stuff's a little, it's the end of the year. He's not a young guy anymore. It's not as crisp as it was. He's definitely, has the experience and the fortitude to do it.
Kevin Cash, when your starter is dominating, leave him in the game, please.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's his decision, honestly. I think he gets like little text messages from the front office during the game. But the one thing the Rays do well is their bullpen. I mean,
Yes.
They have like 7 or 8 guys that they have confidence in tight situations. And they do that on purpose all year. And that's for the playoffs, because sometimes games are won in the 5th inning. Bases loaded, 2 outs, number 3 hitter up. Yeah. Like, why would you have a middle reliever in that situation? You should have a Pete Fairbanks come out, or a Jalen Beeks, or somebody that has stuff and the experience of pitching in the 9th inning. So they do that better than anybody else.
The team always under the radar that we just don't want to give credit for. Houston, the Astros. I mean, everybody, with the cheating scandal and all that stuff. Can Dusty Baker, this guy, you talk about a guy that's been snake bitten, Dusty Baker, can this guy get over the top with the Astros?
I think they have as good a chance as anybody. They would be my favorites. I mean, Verlander coming back and dominating, and Framber Valdez is throwing well, and they have good guys in the bullpen, and their offense, 3-4 different guys can beat you. They're a solid team. They're going to be tough to beat. It's interesting to see how this bye comes into it. It's the first time that's ever happened. I don't know if you can just like practice for a couple of days and then boom, you're already into the second round of the playoffs. The team you're playing just won a series, right? So like that's gonna be interesting. I think everybody wants the days off so you can line up your rotation, and
1 or 2, not 5.
Exactly,
1 or 2, not 5.
Exactly. And this isn't an NFL where guys are getting healthy, and like guys need to stay in rhythm and face live pitching, and trying to move runners over with a guy throwing 98. And 5 days is a long time in baseball. I think the All-Star break's only 4 days. Right. And so this is the longest break they've had with no games since February. It's going to be a factor, I think.
Who you like in the American League coming out? You know what? I'll let you hold that, because we're going to have you on down further in the playoffs. So who do you like in the wild card series? Tampa Bay, Cleveland.
I'll take Tampa Bay. They've kind of been building up for this moment, getting Glass now back and building it up to start. I just think Cleveland, if you take Jose Ramirez out of that lineup, who do they got? I think facing them last week, it's fresh in their minds. The hitters have seen their Bieber and Quantrill, and I'll go with the Rays.
What about you got the Bashers of Toronto with all the hitting in Toronto versus kind of the upstart Mariners, haven't been to the playoffs in like 22 years. First time in 22 years. Remember fans, all the series, all 3 games are going to be in Cleveland and Toronto. So no home games for Tampa Bay or Seattle. Who you like? Toronto, Seattle. Sounds like you like Seattle.
I'm taking Seattle. Yeah. Playoffs rarely go the way people think they are, and I just think Seattle, like I said, they have the mixture of
at the top.
They have a stud ace at the top. I don't know who the ace is for the Blue Jays. Manoah probably. Yeah. And he's a rookie, so not to say you can't do it. It's just I'll take my chances with the vet. Offenses, the Jays have a lot of power for sure, especially playing at home. Yeah. But playoffs are won by the 2-out hit. Moving the guy over from second base, get him to the third. Yeah. Small ball pretty much is how you win in the playoffs. And pressure situations. Yeah. And I think the Mariners, just their lineup up to top to bottom, I just think they're going to do it.
All right, let's go to the National League. You got LA and Atlanta are going to get the byes. Atlanta with a tremendous last 100 games to overtake the Mets. Swept them this last weekend in Atlanta. They clinched the division on Tuesday night. So you're going to have St. Louis and Philadelphia in St. Louis, and then the Mets in San Diego. Your thoughts?
Let's start with the Mets, San Diego. Obviously the Mets top 2 in rotation. I mean, I don't think there's a better 2 in the majors.
DeGrom and Scherzer.
DeGrom and Scherzer, they've had their injury history, so that's always a factor. Can they actually pitch for a series? Their offense is it's kind of hit or miss right now with the Mets, but they still have some studs. Pete Alonso can carry them.
Tampa guy, Pete Alonso, a Tampa guy here, Pete Alonso. Yep.
Yeah, he's coming off a big year. I think he set the RBI record for the Mets. So with that pitching and a couple of timely hitting, I'm going to take the Mets. San Diego's a year away. I feel like I know they made a bunch of moves, and I just feel like they're not really a team. Like there is something to be said about being a team and not being a collection of individuals, and it's hard to keep that kind of momentum going when guys are coming and going, free agents, trades. And,
right.
I feel like next year will be their year, maybe. But yeah, I'll take the Mets in that series. It's in New York too, right?
It is correct. Yep.
That's a big difference. October baseball in New York's not, it's not 75 and sunny like it is in San Diego. So facing DeGrom and Scherzer and that kind of 50s weather, thicker air kind of, I'm gonna take the Mets. And that kind of stuff matters.
You're right. No doubt. No doubt.
If you're a starting pitcher, you want it to be cold and nasty. you want it to be like, drizzly. Exactly.
Yeah.
No hitters want to hit in that atmosphere.
All right, let's go to St. Louis and Philly. That atmosphere in Busch Stadium. You got probably the final run for Wainwright, Molina, Pujols. And then you got, and on the other side, you got obviously Bryce Harper and all the Phillies. They made the managerial change with Girardi. What do you think?
I mean, you got to go Cardinals, I think. I mean, it's kind of everything's kind of pointing towards them. I think Philly definitely has some dangerous guys. Schwarber's got like 47 home runs or something, 46 or something. Harper's healthy and back. I just think their defense,
not good.
Like I was saying earlier, like playoff baseball is the little things.
That's right.
An error here, an error there, not getting a double play turn.
Extra base, giving a guy an extra base.
An outfielder, Schwarber misplaying the ball in left field.
Yeah, that
kind of stuff matters. Yep. And the Cardinals, I mean, like I was just saying, they seem like a team. They all bought in. They don't care. They don't care about the rules as long as they're winning. And then you add to that Molina and Wainwright and Pujols. It's not their first rodeo. Like they've been here a long time. I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
All right. So you like the Cardinals and you like the Mets, who will then play the Braves and the Dodgers. Give me a quick scouting report on Atlanta and LA.
I think Atlanta's in a unique situation, right? Like, yeah, they won the World Series last year, but they got some hungry guys. Like Acuna wasn't part of that run. Spencer Strider wasn't a part of that run. And then you mix in the guys that were, like Austin Riley and Dansby Swanson and Michael Harris wasn't part of that run.
Yeah.
So they got a great mixture of like young, hungry players and then guys that were there last year. And then their pitching.
Acuna was out last year.
He didn't play one playoff game, and they still won the World Series. So I mean, you gotta say they're the favorites of the NL. I mean, I think them and the Dodgers have been playing pretty much neck and neck since May. So the Braves are going to be tough. They're going to be tough to beat. They have a great lineup, power, speed. They play good defense.
Great manager.
Yeah, he won it last year. The bullpens, that might come into play in the World Series. Kenley Jansen's been a little, he's been a little, but again, he has a ton of experience. He's been in the playoffs. He's won a World Series with the Dodgers. He's probably not analytics probably isn't a fan of him.
Yeah.
But they also they added that guy
Iglesias from the Angels. Yep.
So he might be the difference. He may be the guy that comes in the seventh inning, pitches the seventh, the eighth, and then hands it off to Kenley in the ninth. So yeah, they're a solid team for sure.
All right, got one more.
Go ahead.
Good. Now go ahead. Finish.
I was gonna say, and then the Dodgers. I just think that they have too many injuries in their starting rotation. Like
their closure situation is terrible.
Kimbrel, it's a mess. I honestly don't know how they won so many games this year. But they're still the Dodgers. Those top three hitters are still way above league average with Turner and Freddie Freeman and who's the other one?
You got the Muncy at first base.
Yeah.
You got they have so many guys. I mean,
Mookie Betts.
Mookie, correct.
So yeah, their top three in the lineup is nasty. But playoffs comes down to pitching and defense. So
there you go. All right, I got one more question for you before I get out of here. Sometimes we have some fans interject some stuff to me on Twitter and email and all that good stuff. We had a fan write in. The question was, how is lunch gonna go with the bath bomb babes?
I think I know who wrote in that question. It's gonna go good. It's gonna go well. Maybe a couple of Aperol spritzes and yeah, it's gonna go well.
What is the meeting spot gonna be for the Lunch Bomb Babes?
I think it's gonna be a place called On Swan.
Okay, I know right where that's at.
Yeah,
The fans want to know. The fans want to know.
It sounds like it. Yeah. That's funny.
All right, Chris, real pleasure, man. Definitely have you back on during the playoffs to get some more analysis from you as the playoffs progress, man. Great job. Again, yeah. Chris Perez, MLB All Star 2011-12, great at 133 career saves, great Major League Baseball career, and he's a local guy too. You're living in the Tampa Bay area as well. You're an Anna Maria Island guy, right? You grew up in Anna Maria Island? Yeah.
Born and raised in Bradenton, grew up on Anna Maria. Just lucky the hurricane kind of hit south because it wouldn't have been good if it was 100 miles north for Anna Maria for sure. But thanks for having me. Maybe we can do this before every series starts or something.
Let's do it. You're on, man. You are hired. I can't pay you a lot, but I can buy you a spritzer at On Swan.
Yes, deal. I'm cheap. That's a deal.
All right, Chris. Have a great weekend and enjoy the baseball.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, man.